Are you sick and goddamn tired of all these meta decks? They're running crazy. It's all you can play these days. If I gotta drill another tunnel, I'd rather get my damn teeth drilled. And let me tell you, if I have to play another damn Yoahem, I'm gonna pull my hair clean out. If you feel like me, this is the video for you. This is the top 6 off-meta decks that will get you to Pro Rank this season. Number 6, Hidden Cash. So after the huge buffs to line pockets this season, Hidden Cash really got left out in the cold. It doesn't help that Tunnel Drill is really a bad card for this deck to have to deal with. They can pretty easily kill some of our big engines. But despite that bad matchup, Hidden Cash still has some really favorable matchups in this meta. Decks that don't have the control to deal with the engine overload strategy, they don't really have a lot of options. Vi has reared its ugly head once again this meta. This was one of Hidden Cash's best matchups, even when Vi was at full strength. So current Vi really doesn't stand a chance against Hidden Cash. With Lockdown out of the meta, we're taking out Kalkenstein, and we're going to play the recently buffed Ludovicus Brunenbaum. People were really excited about this card when the patch notes were released, but because it doesn't really fit in line pockets, it hasn't seen any play. In this deck, you can pretty much determine when your opponent is out of control options, because we play plenty of juicy stuff they want to remove. So then we can just slam down Ludovicus, wait the 3 turns, and get the full 9 coins of value. Worst case, he's playing as a 9 for 7. Best case, 14 for 7, while also producing enough coins to trigger all of your hordes. This deck has an absolutely vicious long round when allowed to go rampant, and between Heatwave and Poisons, a possibility of 4 tall removals. You could also choose to go with a Yrden build, swapping out the control package for more engines. Number 5, Devotion Harmony. I first became aware that Harmony was still playable after losing to the streamer Sealy on ladder last season around 2500. I stole her list and gave it a go. The deck has a pretty good amount of new cards in it that support the old Harmony core. The Way of the Witcher set introduced the Witcher tag to Scoia'tael, boosting the ceiling on all Harmony engines by 1 point. The best green Witcher, Gezrus of Leda, provides the deck a new way to secure the round, and fits perfectly as the deck has no problem making a big back row. Cat Witchers are a solid engine for the deck, and of course also have the Witcher tag. The other new addition, and a more direct buff to the archetype, is Saskia. This seemed like a pretty random buff when I first saw it, but it actually fits the deck pretty well, as Saskia is the only dragon tag available to ST. It's a proactive play with a Harmony tag, and even though sometimes the token generation can deny you a Harmony proc, it's still a good addition to the deck. In a long round, this deck can just put out crazy points, and getting to that long round can be a challenge, but if you do, this often means sure victory. Number 4, Slave Infantry Control. Now, I really didn't want to put my own deck on this list, but I couldn't in good faith call any Nilfgaard deck that plays Masquerade Ball off meta. And after trying all of the other non-ball options that Nilfgaard has and just plummeting my MMR to the depths, I am quite confident Slave Infantry Control is the best off-meta option for Nilfgaard right now. Thanks to the recent buff to Slave Infantry, the deck now has a number of strong tempo plays that were previously unavailable to the faction. Slave Infantry, when used to transform a 1-power unit, plays as 9 points of pure tempo for 5 provisions. This deck abuses that tempo with cards like Ramon and Vrigif, transforming 1-power tokens spawned off of either Vigo or your Germain Piquant. Then, for 7 provisions, Vreemd plays as a 14 to 20 point finisher, boosting all of your slave infantries by 2. The deck has tremendous tempo in round 1 and can even tempo pass on blue coin in many matchups. If you need to play deep into the round though, your 4 provision engines can play for a ton and your bronze removal can deal with opposing engines. If you make it to a long round 3 with your slave infantry combo intact, most decks can't get enough points to stick against your control tools to deal with the massive point slam. Triple tall punish in some matchups can just win you the game. There are a number of flexible slots in this deck to tailor your control options to best suit the decks you're seeing most often. Number 3, Devotion Kashay. Now this deck has never really had its chance to shine. When Kashay was first released, it was into the Vi and Lockdown meta that came after the Way of the Witcher expansion. Both are unwinnable matchups for this deck. But since Vi got a nerf and since they killed Lockdown, This deck has lost 2 of its very worst matchups. Kashay, the only real support from the Thrive archetype in the last expansion, prompted us to switch from the usual Thrive leader of choice, Fruits of Isgith, to Force of Nature instead. Combined with double Kashay, this leader can play for insane points, proccing both of the Kashays and all of the larvas. It also guarantees at least 1 larva of value because you can proc the Kashay the same turn you play it. This deck relies on obtaining round control and bleeding threats out of the opponent in round 2. Kashay and Karanther plus leader combo for huge points in a 5 or 6 card round, and the deck often 2-0s. If no 2-0, the deck has no shortage of big tempo plays for a very short round 3. I win streaked through rank 1 to pro rank with this deck last season, and I think you can too. Number 2, Uprising Swarm. Leave Queen Meve at home, and Uprising Swarm is actually a real problem for a lot of decks to handle. The long round potential this deck has, if it can keep its Carrick frigates alive, is just ridiculous. And with so little tall punish going around, you can pretty much just boost your boats out of removal range of most decks. With both Queen Adalia and reinforcements, you can play up to 4 Carrick frigates per game. Your goal is to completely swarm the field with volunteers and then end the round with your high value payoff cards like Bone Talisman and Voimir. This deck is super consistent, running both a Neuromancy and AA, so we're very rarely going to lose to a bricked hand. In a deck with no control and Carrick City Guards to set him up, Yrden finds huge value. The deck really needs to win round 1 to secure a long round 3 and avoid getting bled round 2. In a long round 3 with Yrden, only the heaviest control decks stand a chance. Last season I brought this deck to the high 2400s in pro rank without too much difficulty. You can consider playing Shield Wall as your leader to protect your boats a bit more if it suits you. And finally, my number 1 pick, what I believe to be the strongest off-meta deck available right now, Alchemy. There was a week in the meta after the Way of the Witcher expansion where everybody remembered that this deck was good. Players like Gravish were getting really high scores with it on Pro Ladder, and then just like they remembered, everybody forgot again. Alchemy is not SK's number 1 strongest deck, but I would argue it's the 2nd strongest, and this deck didn't even appear on a single meta report. Where is this deck? Gedineth is still a powerhouse card and one of the only scenarios very good in both a short and long round. Many decks aren't even playing Heatwave right now, so Geddy is guaranteed to stick in a lot of matchups. Portal is a 14-point play that also provides a sponge for your 2 damage engines, and also thins your deck by 2. With Lockdown out of the meta, we decided to drop the Gremist and went for a more consistent build with a double Freya's Blessing. With no Gremist, Heatwave loses some appeal, so we're playing Yrden instead, which actually flips the AQ matchup for this deck strongly in Alchemy's favor. The main strength of this deck is its flexibility. You can try to take round 1 and bleed or dry pass based on the matchup. You can pass early and defend a bleed with Portal. You can even tempo pass many matchups and guarantee yourself a long round with Gedineth and Yrden. With so many options at your disposal, this deck always feels like you have a chance to win and has a high degree of player agency. I believe Alchemy is the best off-meta deck to make pro rank or climb the ladder with this season. So those are my top 6 decks to get you to pro rank or to climb the ladder with this season. If you don't want to be playing the same garbage that everybody's playing and that everybody has been playing for the past 2 seasons straight now, consider picking one of these decks up. I think you'll find they're a lot stronger than people are expecting, and you take people by surprise. You get a lot of surprise value in these matchups. It's good stuff. I think you're going to like it. If you liked the video, please consider leaving me a like and or subscribe. I would appreciate that very much. If you have any critiques, I'd love to have them. Leave me a comment down below. If I missed anything, any decks that are your favorite off-meta decks or you think are stronger in a faction that I put something else in, please let me know, and I'd love to know what you think. Thanks. Have a great day, y'all.